Hello guys, so we are back, and in this video we're going to talk again about arrays. This is the second and final part. So in the last video we've said that in these type of arrays you cannot change the dimension of that array, and that is because these arrays are static. There is also something that is called dynamic array, and it's used in C, and when we are working with those arrays, then we can actually change the dimension of those arrays. But right now we're sticking to the static arrays, and in the future videos we are going to talk about dynamic arrays, but that's not important now. Okay, actually there is one sort of a trick which is often used, and it's used to make the user define the dimension of that array. And I'll show you in a small part of code how to use that trick. So basically I'm gonna make a variable, and I'm gonna name it num because I will use it for the number of elements. Okay, and right here I will printf. I don't know, it can be used for anything. Basically it can be used how many students do you have, or how many sales did you have today. But I will just type here type in the dimension of array, and here I will scan that number and place it here in this variable. And then right now after this printf, and this needs to be scanf, sorry, and then after that I will make the definition of my array. So it will be type int, I will name it array, and the dimension will be num, and this is actually okay, and it's allowed. So when we run this program, the compiler won't report any errors. For example, if we type M5, this will actually make one array which has 5 elements. So it's pretty simple. So this expression right here, this part right here, which is used for dimension, can actually be something which isn't constant. So it can be some changeable data. In this case, it's a variable, and variable is something that we can change and assign the value to. Actually, the next thing that I want to say is that, and I've said it in the last video, actually, one element of one array is L value. For example, array from 0 is actually L value, so that means that we can assign some value to that element that is L value, and array itself is not actually L value, so we cannot do this array and set it to 15 because it's not an L value. And there's always, like in everything, there's some exception, and that exception is when we make strings, and one string is actually a special array of characters which is finished with the string terminator, and the string terminator is actually this, so \0. So right now I'll show you how to use them. For example, we want to make a city string, use char, and then we'll call this array city, and dimension is 20, for example. And there's one way to do it like this. I'll use London, for example, London, and then at the end I will have string terminator, and when we use this printf, I'll just delete this first because we don't need it anymore. Printf, and then %s is used for strings from city. Okay, so when we run this now, just a second. Oh yeah, here I need to have a semicolon. London. Okay, there's another way to do it like this. Char city 2 from 20, and then like this, Las Vegas. And right now when we printf, I'll use \n and then %s from city 2. Again, I forgot the semicolon. London, Las Vegas. So those are actually strings. So right now I will show you in a small example how to use those strings, for example like this: char first name 20, L name for the last name 20, and then printf like this. And there's a trick here. So when we use scanf to scan some string, we don't need to use the address operator. We use it without address operator because this string, this name of this array of this string is actually an address itself. So we don't need to use the address operator like when we use scanf %d, and then when we want to assign some integer value to some integer variable. In strings and arrays, when we work with strings, we don't use the address operator here. That is a very common mistake, and it's really important not to use the address operator here. Okay. Okay, like this. So right now I will use this to print the name out so we can check if this scanf worked correctly. And here underneath, printf initials of the person. This is how we can do it: %c dot %c, and then here f name of 0. That will actually print out the first element of the name of the first name, and here L name from 0. That will print out the last element. I will just place this in the next row so you can see better everything, because I'm working on just on the half of the screen. And when we run this and type in, I don't know, John, then the last name is Doe, John Doe, initials are JD. Okay, so that is good. So that is how we use strings. That is just one small part of strings. They're a little bit more complicated, and they have so much more behind it. They have functions which are used for it, but we are going to talk more about strings in the future videos. So right now we're going to talk about multidimensional arrays. So in C we have multidimensional arrays, and they are used, for example, like this. And I'll use math just from matrices. So I don't know, it's 2, 3. So you can have more dimensions like this. It's not important. The first dimension can be actually is the only one that can be left out, so like this. And then here in these curly brackets we will determine the dimension of this this multi-dimensional array. This is actually 2-dimensional array. So right now I'll show you how it works. So for example, when we make one array which is type int, for example, and we call it mat 2 and 3. So these are the dimensions. So at the first place we have rows. So it goes like this. I don't know, int mat, then rows, and here we have columns. It goes like this. So this is actually here the logical representation of how it looks in our head, and inside of memory it looks like this. So on the first place there goes math from 0, 0, then 0, 1, 0, 2, 1, 0, 1, 1, and 1, 2. Okay, so this is the memory representation, and this is the logical. So this is how we initialize 2-dimensional arrays, and these two initialization lists are the same. So this means that in first row we have 1, 2, 3, and in the second row we will have 4. So we place rows and elements of rows inside of curly brackets, and then we place that everything inside of curly brackets, another curly brackets, and we can use it like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the program will make it like this, just inside of the memory, one after the other, how it goes, because we've said that inside of memory it looks like this. So basically it will, when we use it like this, it will still be placed like this in logical order. So right now I'll show you this. So when we use it like this, 1 2 1 2, and then the third element will be 0, because in the last video when we were talking about arrays, I've said that all those elements that don't have a value inside of these curly brackets will actually get 0. So this one is 0 because of that. And for the second row we have 3 4, and then we don't have the value for the third element of that row, and that's why it's 0. So it's pretty simple, it's not complicated, and they can be used in lots of things. So that will be pretty much it for this video. In the next video we are going to talk about structures, and that is really important because structures are actually used a lot, especially in big programs. Basically any big program that is written in C must have some structure because it makes your job a lot easier. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel too, and put the notification bell on as well to be in touch with our latest videos because we upload daily. And thank you for watching. See you next time.